In this problem, we're asked to find the net charge, or the net force, the net force on the 48 microcoulomb charge. So that mu is equal to 1 times 10 to the minus 6. Okay, so what I have is I have my charges. So Q1 is positive, Q2 is positive, Q3 is negative, and Q1 is 75 microcoulombs, 2 is 48 microcoulombs, and 3 is 85 microcoulombs. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw my arrows to represent the forces. So just the force due to the 75 microcoulomb charge on the 48 microcoulomb charge. I start at the 48 microcoulomb charge, Q2, and I'm going to draw an arrow away because this charge is repelled by this charge. So I'm going to have an arrow like that. And now this charge is attracting this charge, so that means I'm going to have an arrow towards this side. So I'm just going to put it underneath, and I know I'm going to be multiplying the two charges together, so I'm going to have 75 times 48 versus 48 times 85. So I know this second arrow is going to be a little bit bigger. And so I'm going to label this I'm going to label this the force of charge 1 on 2, and this arrow is going to be the force of charge 3 on 2. And so now to do the calculations, I'm going to add these two forces together. So I'm going to say F net is equal to F1 on 2 plus F3 on 2. And so F net is equal to K Q1 Q2 over R12 squared plus K Q3 Q2 over R31 squared. Okay, and I'm going to factor out, I know my R12 and my R3, or my R12 and my R31, these values here are the same, so I can factor that out, and I can also factor my K out. And I can factor my Q2 out, because I have Q2 here and here. I have K here and here, and these two values are the same. So I'm going to factor out my K Q2 and my R. I'm just going to call this R squared, because it's the same. And so what I'm left with is Q1 plus Q3. That just makes the math a little easier, so I don't have to write the numbers out since they're kind of big. So F net is equal to 9 times 10 to the 9th newtons meters squared per coulomb squared times 48 times 10 to the minus 6 coulombs times, hold on a second, so let's my line there, and this is going to be 0.35 meters squared times Q1 is 75 times 10 to the minus 6 coulombs plus 85 times 10 to the minus 6 coulombs. And when I multiply that out, I get 299.8 newtons. And so I know this is in the, so I'm going to put an arrow here to show that it's a vector, and I'm going to say this is in the x hat direction. So I'm going to say this is the positive x direction. So it's, the arrow is pointing, the net arrow, so if I draw this over here, Q2, I'm going to have an arrow that looks like that, and that's my F net, pointing to the right.